If you love historic aircraft, this episode of Trail Hunters Adventures is made for you. We continue with our recent visit to the Smithsonian Air and Space Museum with a big highlight on the Enola Gay, the famous World War II B-29 bomber, where a museum staff member shares stories of this amazing aircraft. It was certainly an afternoon our team will never forget. Come hang out with us.
Here's the German section. Yeah, we're still at the upper deck. So the manufacturer of the plane, the plaques are down there. We'll have to get back down there. Yeah, the stairs there. Yeah. There's a hand glider. I don't know if I would ever do that.
What?
Hand glide?
Well, thank you.
I'm not sure if I'd want to do that. Yeah, these are all hand gliders. It looks fun. Ooh, flying wing. Some more World War II aircraft there, some Japanese.
One of those is the Zero. I don't
Yeah.
remember which one.
Yeah. And there's probably the most famous airplane in this museum, next to the SR-71.
You saw the picture I have of this, right?
Yeah. This is the Enola Gay. The plane that helped end World War II. Dropped. Did this one drop on Hiroshima or?
I think this is the first one.
Yeah. Dropped the first atomic bomb.
And there's the Norden bomb site.
Yep. The bomb site that we saw, the $1 billion bomb site, just inside that bubble there. Here's the cockpit. You can really see inside the cockpit from up here. And really look, you can see all the way back down in the cabin. It looks like there's a hatch right there. That's some type of hatch. Separate the front of the plane from the rear, maybe.
A free guided tour will begin in approximately 10 minutes.
Enola Gay.
The tour desk located at the rear of the SR-71 Blackbird on the lower level. Thank you.
Because that's why you see a lot of World War II planes,
Yeah.
and they have really intricate nose art, they call it. Well, this is really basic, and that's because it was a last-minute thing. All they had time to do was basically just slap the name on. That's the original paint, by the way,
Wow.
that was used, and he named it after his mother, because when he was a young man, all he wanted to do was fly, but his father was very dismissive. And said, you need to get a proper job, son, you know, that kind of thing. And his mother said, if that's what you want to do, go for it. And because she encouraged him, he went on to lead probably the most, decisive mission of World War II.
Right.
Funnily enough, the whole reason he liked flying was his father's fault. Because when he was a young boy, growing up in Florida, his father was a co-owner of a candy manufacturer. And there was a state fair in the town where he lived, and giving rides in like biplanes. So he paid for his son to go for a joyride in this biplane with a big bag of candy and instructions to drop it over the state fair as a way to advertise.
Right.
Not realizing his son was going to get hooked on flying in the process. The candy bar, by the way, was Baby Ruth.
Really?
So I'm full of all sorts of information on this. I can actually tell you about plane as well. I mean, it's unbelievable
Yeah.
for what they did. I mean, the technology was, before the B-29, if you were in a bomber in World War II, you'd be on oxygen and with a thick jacket.
So this one was pressurized.
The first pressurized bomber
Ah,
in the world.
Leather jacket.
Yeah, it also had, this one doesn't have it for a very good reason, but the regular B-29s had remote control gun turrets, and you can see where they used to be. See this here?
Right.
And at the back, and those gun turrets basically could be controlled by a number. You could either have two or one or whatever, different people coordinating them all, as opposed to the old way where you'd have an individual gunner in it. So it was a much more effective system. It also had the most powerful engines of World War II, Wright Cyclones. Did have a few issues. It was the weak point of the airplane. Basically, if you look at the air gap here and compare it over here with this is the Boeing 307. They used the wings from a B-17 bomber, and this was the first pressurized passenger plane in the world.
oh, cool.
But look at the B-17, look how much air you've got there compared, relatively speaking, here, how much you've got here. And that meant they wanted this because it made it more aerodynamic, less drag, could go faster, but they unfortunately had a tendency to overheat. And when they overheated, deep in the bearing chamber of the engine was a magnesium part, and that caught fire. It went quickly, and they lost a lot of airplanes that way. And basically, 3/4 of the losses of B-29s in the whole of World War II were basically due to reliability of mechanical issues. As only
As opposed to being shot down?
Yeah, 25% were enemy action.
Wow.
So it got a real reputation. This was really cutting edge. You were pushing the limit. I mean, this was a fast plane. It could go high.
What was the maximum altitude it was flying?
Well, the regular ones went about 30,000 feet. But this one is a special. Because when Colonel Tibbets was brought in to lead the mission,
Right.
he was given carte blanche to get whatever he wanted to make it a success. So they said, you've got a code word. You use this code word, the supplier you're talking to has to give you what you want. And that was called silver plate. So this became the, quote, silver plate standard airplane. And what he decided very quickly, once he was told what the mission was, he couldn't actually tell anybody on his staff what it was, other than it was a significant thing. Basically, he said, when I take off from Tinian Island in the Pacific with an atomic bomb, I want to make sure I get off the ground.
Yeah.
Number one.
That'd be a good idea.
Yeah.
Number two, because you're flying at 30,000 feet, there's not such a good chance that you're going to get anti-aircraft at that.
Probably not.
And enemy fighters are going to struggle to get that high. But I'd still like to be a bit higher. That's number two. Number three, when I drop the bomb, I'd like to get the hell out of there
You want
as
to get
quickly
away.
as
Yeah.
possible. So all of that meant reduced weight. So the first thing he did was strip the paint off it. All the early B-29s were painted green. So he said, strip that paint off. Saved 250 pounds.
So that's bare metal, right?
Yeah, that's bare metal. Then he said, if I'm going to fly at a higher altitude, my risk of getting shot down is less. So take the gun turrets off. So there's 2 on the top, 2 on the bottom, and all the ammo, don't need that. A bunch of other changes. He ended up saving over £7,500. So that bumped up the altitude from about 30,000 to about 32, 33,000. I mean, quite a bit more.
That's significant.
Yeah, so it could go a bit higher. He insisted on changes to the engines. They put fuel injection rather than carburetors that helped with the distribution of heat, and a bunch of other changes on the engines to make them more reliable. A lot of things. He hand-selected every airplane from the in the silver plate group. Basically, he had 16. They made a lot more of them, but for the mission, basically there were 16, and he hand selected those. They were all manufactured in the same plant in Wichita. Had the better quality standard because they were manufactured all over the country.
Yeah.
So it had them all, that one standard.
I think some of them were manufactured off of Air Force Base as well.
Oh, well, they were all over the country.
Building C.
Yeah,
They
all over the
built out a
country.
lot of them.
So he insisted all that stuff, and this is basically what you see here is a silver plate standard airplane.
Was this mission the only mission this plane flew?
No.
No?
It actually flew on the second bomb mission as a weather airplane.
Yeah.
So each mission, so when Enola Gay took off, there were 3 airplanes when it took off, but ahead of it, 3 other airplanes had gone off ahead to check out the potential target locations. There was another plane in Iwo Jima because the Iwo Jima was roughly halfway between Tinian Island and Japan, and so they had a backup plane stationed there. And the other thing they had to do here was this has 2 bomb bays, a front and a rear one.
Right.
It was not big enough for the bomb to fit in. They had to enlarge it, but you still couldn't load it in conventionally because the ground clearance wasn't sufficient, basically, for the bomb was too big.
Yeah, to get it underneath.
So they had to dig a pit by the side of the runway, lower the bomb into the pit, taxi the plane over it, raise the bomb up. So they had to do that in Iwo Jima as well, because if there was a problem with Enola Gay, they could divert into Iwo Jima, switch the bombs over and carry on. They didn't need to do it, but it was all the contingencies
Right.
they had to endure. Then when Boxcar went for Nagasaki, Enola Gay was one of those 3 weather airplanes that went there. And then it served after the war as well.
Oh.
Because all of the parts of this are original to Enola Gay, but I think 2 of the engines, which are original, were not part of the mission that dropped the bomb, because just as a matter of course they replaced them. So it was continued flying. So we got what it had when it did its last mission, basically, which wasn't all the engines they had at the time.
So where and when was its last mission? What was the date?
Oh God, I can't remember. It did a bunch of stuff after the war.
What about before the bombing? Did it have nothing before?
No,
Okay.
just the training. It was brand new airplane, basically.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
But interesting story. Tibbets had to say when he got he hand selected all the crews to do the mission, and when he told them, he couldn't tell them it was an atomic bomb, obviously, but he said this is a significant mission. It's important for the war, and we're going to be flying the B-29. Big pushback, because it got reputation. It was like all this technology too soon was the kind of thing where it's like
bleeding edge.
Yeah, it's like it's really are we sure you want to be flying this airplane? Is this the right one? Because 3/4 of the losses have been
mechanical.
Yeah, and he fixed that with what's called the WASPs. Have you heard of the WASPs? Women's Air Service Pilots.
Yes.
These were volunteer women who delivered planes from the manufacturing facility out to the operational bases, thereby saving pilots to go
Fight the war.
Yeah, and they were unheralded until like the mid-90s when they got a congressional medal eventually and got recognized. Anyway, Tibbets got 2 WASPs to fly a B-29 into the base where he got all his crews lined up. They landed perfectly, taxied it up to the hangar, and all the guys are lined up there. These 2 women get out and they say, "Where are the pilots?
They can do it.
Where are the pilots?" Eventually a penny dropped, and if they can do it, so that's how he fixed the pushback.
Yeah, that's smart.
Smart dude.
But and interesting, another fun fact for you, because all the artifacts that are on the floor here, there's a story behind all of them. They're all historically important. Once they're on here, they ain't flying again, and nobody gets to go inside.
Right.
Unless somebody's doing some maintenance or cleaning or something. So nobody does. The only exception I'm aware of is Tibbets. when he visited this museum after we opened it, he got to sit in his plane.
Well, of course.
Yeah, that's the only one I'm aware of.
I have an autographed picture of him standing in front of this airplane.
Oh, cool.
Wow.
Yeah, let's see, what other fun facts? Oh, so he was so...
On the mission itself, how many crewmen were
Yeah, I was going to ask that.
12.
There were 12 people in the plane?
Yeah, and you've got, basically, there was a gunner at the rear, and I think another specialist or something
So
here.
the rear gun was still in place.
The rear gun was in place, yeah. You have a rear pressure compartment and a front pressure compartment. The bomb bay's in the middle, and you have a tunnel that goes across the top
that's
with a
that
trolley.
hatch.
Yeah, that's, I was looking at it. I was looking through the
Yeah,
plane.
you pull yourself through.
And so there was, they basically lost some of the crew. There was like the guy that would have normally controlled the guns, other guns, I think was off, but they had 2 mission specialists. So normally the crew would be 11. So they lost 1 but added 2. That's how you get the 12. And these 2 mission specialists, Tibbets was so risk averse, he took off with the bomb deactivated. Even though, you know, he did all his other contingents and stuff.
I would have done the same thing.
Yeah.
So as soon as they got off the ground, they had to crawl into the bomb bay, and there's 2 fuses which we used to have in the display cabinet down here. I don't know why they removed them. They look like you know, the old-fashioned car cigarette lighters.
Oh,
You know,
yes,
those
yes,
like
yeah.
one's red, one's green, and they basically had to crawl in and switch these over red to green.
So they had to activate the bomb themselves.
Yeah.
While you're in
In the
flight.
air.
in flight.
In
yeah.
flight.
Yeah. And then
Well, you don't want to blow up your ears.
Well, yeah.
so yeah, we had the backup fuses, which the navigator carried.
Fascinating.
So yeah, now nobody actually dropped the bomb. It was done automatically. Do you know that?
No.
So what happened was the way the Norden bomb site works is the bombardier would have basically put in the target coordinates, wind speed, all that kind of stuff, and at the appropriate time, you press a button and it takes over flying the airplane. It goes over to the automatic pilot.
They had autopilot back then?
Yeah, they had autopilot. Yeah.
So it had to have compasses sensitive enough to know where it was.
So it basically, this was quite a piece of machinery right in the nose there. And so it flew the airplane and it dropped the bomb when it said it was ready, because it knew what the wind was doing.
Right.
And all
Can
the
you
other,
imagine
the
testing that
altitude.
piece of gear?
Yeah. So it was quite something. I'm trying to think of the other technology. Had what we call Fowler flaps. If you look at, you can see it better from the ground. Along the trailing edge here, these basically gave you a lot more wing surface on takeoff and much better drag on landing. So that was another innovation this plane had. Lots of cool stuff. The remote control guns, if you had them fitted, they were controlled by an early electromechanical computer. Yeah, computers in World War II.
Wow.
So it was electromechanical, basically all fluid control and all that. But that's what controlled the guns, you know. And basically, that's what the Norden bomb site was. That was basically an early computer.
Yeah.
Not solid state, obviously, or electric,
Well, no,
but it was effectively.
Your point.
Yeah.
Wow.
So yeah, that's why this cost more than the Apollo space program in equivalent dollars. In the same year, in today's year dollars, $46 billion was the
That's today's money?
yeah
$46 billion?
$46 billion program, and this was conceived even before the US was in World War II. It was conceived when basically the US privately thought Britain was going to lose the Battle of Britain, and that they figured we're probably going to get dragged into this conflict eventually. I'm going to need to bomb Germany from either North Africa or Greenland. So we need a plane that can do 5,000 miles, carry 2,000 pounds of bombs.
And be way the hell up there.
Yeah. And So they did that. That was the spec, if you like, for it. But then, when Britain didn't lose the battle of Britain, this saw 99.9% of its service, all B-29s, in the Pacific. They did not really, apart from one mission in Europe, which was really to kid the Germans into thinking they were going to bring B-29s into. They did a full stop basically.
Wow.
But, yeah, they were exclusive to the Pacific theatre.
Yeah, that's a lot of long-range flying.
Oh yeah. So, pretty cool. One of the big five we have here.
So this shows how inadequate my knowledge of World War II history is. Because I didn't know any of that. I knew about this plane, but...
The Space Shuttle Discovery, the Dash 8 here, very important.
Fascinating.
Those are the big five.
Yeah, this is the way to describe this is like a space program.
Yeah, exactly. It really, pushing the limits on everything. Yeah.
I can understand why you would think twice about being included.
With the reputation it got. Yeah, well, the prototype one of the early flights crashed out in Seattle into a factory.
Into the factory?
Not into the factory of this, it was another factory.
I know that. Oh, okay.
Yeah, on one of its test flights. Killing the test, Boeing's chief test pilot, and everybody on board, and a bunch of people in the factory as well. So it had some issues. But ultimately,
wow.
Anyway, anything else about it?
That was awesome. Yeah.
Plenty to
Yeah.
share.
Wow. So on that, I don't even know what to say. That was awesome. I didn't know any of that.
Oh, you got it.
Most of it I didn't.
Yeah. So as much as I know about this plane, that was insignificant compared to what I just learned. So I know that was a long segment, but wow. Be back. Another cool part of this museum is the observation tower. It is to simulate a control tower of an airport. And since we are just outside the grounds of Dulles Airport, which is right there, you can actually see the terminals and the actual control tower over there for Dulles. And so, the cool thing about here is, on this side of the tower, you get to watch the planes come in to land on the runway. You see the end of the runway just over there. I don't see any coming in. While we were having lunch down in the little restaurant, there were several coming in. I don't see any coming in right now. There's the parking lot. Hardly anybody here, which has really made this visit really cool. So this is a live feed. Air traffic control at Dulles.
Thank you. Up on approach United 1354, 6000 on Gibbs 4. 1354, welcome runway 17.
Didn't they used to have a big radar display where you could watch, you saw the planes coming in?
120.1 out today. 20.1 exit stage 31, you too, sir.
Okay, be back. We got a small one coming in. Like a Learjet type.
Charter and executive.
And we got another coming in on the other runway. And that one there looks like it's turning into this one. Yep, there's running lights. Okay, I'll be back when it gets closer. Doing that. And another one coming in. SAS. He makes it look easy. You got it right on the end of that runway. Just okay, we got a good sized one coming around now. Be back. Now this is a big one coming in. Look at the size of it.
A long day, huh, boys?
Yeah, I bet. That's amazing. Ooh, you can see puffs of smoke where it hit the pavement. That was neat. Okay, well, we're gonna move on. Okay, so these are our pre-World War I aircraft. 1911 Baldwin Red Devil. Here's a picture of the dude. Scott Baldwin. Built 6 of them. There's some flight simulator ride thingies over there. You got That one up there. Curtiss model flying boat. Oh, that one. This is all that's left of it. The boat part. Built in 1913. But here's a picture of it. Enola Gay airplane, biplane. And this is from 1913. Performing exhibition and passenger flights. Pretty cool. Cauldron G4. So this actually is a World War I aircraft. It was used for reconnaissance during World War I. SPAD 16. Two-seat version of the highly successful single-seat SPAD fighters of World War I. This one doesn't say when this one was manufactured. Oh yeah, introduced 1918. And this looks like a German aircraft. Yeah. Halberstadt, which is also from 1918, German aircraft. Pretty cool. And whatever that thing is up there. I imagine the plaque for it was somewhere up there, but that's interesting. Be back. Okay, and that flak bait plane that we saw in the restoration, the B-26, these are the engines and the tail rudder for that plane. It says here the crew, medium bomber, true survivor of World War II, flew over 200 missions in Europe, more than any other combat aircraft in World War II. And this side of the museum is mostly commercial aircraft and experimental aircraft. So I'm not gonna. We're gonna kind of blow through this kind of a little faster, so that this video isn't all that extremely long. We got a Boeing 707 here. And we got the Concorde. Air France Concorde. Right over here. Like I said. And here's that the Clipper Flying Cloud that other museum dude said was first pressurized passenger aircraft. This one right here. Boeing 307 Stratoliner. I can see what he was talking about, how that cowling is so much more open
Yeah.
around the engines there. Look, Cheyenne. It's an airport fire truck. That wasn't here last time.
What, this guy here?
The fire truck?
Oh, the fire truck.
Yeah. That's the first time I've seen it.
That's fire truck right here in Dulles.
Yeah, we are standing underneath the SST. Look at those engines. The intakes of those engines. From a blimp. Airbus A330 landing gear. That's just the landing gear. Can you imagine what the rest of the plane must look like? And okay, be right back, y'all. So this fire truck right here, the foam truck, fought the fires at the Pentagon during the September 11th attacks because the Pentagon's foam truck was destroyed in the attack. So this one was brought in from Ronald Reagan Washington National Airport to help fight the fires at the Pentagon. So that's this one's importance in history. Pretty neat. This is the helicopter section. This one right here, Bell H-113J, Dwight D. Eisenhower, first U.S. president to fly aboard a helicopter. That one. Right there. And we got this funky looking one here. It's half airplane, half helicopter. Doesn't look like. It says here inability to hover, limited payload, and ground residence problems kept the experimental aircraft from production. So this never became any kind of mass produced aircraft. And we got a bunch of little one-seater thingies up there. And this one here, another halfer, was supposedly made to be able to fly and then drive down the road, and you folded back the rotors. Suffered from stability problems. But it's too big of a price tag to go into mass production. And look, an airplane from the movie, from the Cars movie.
Additionally, the concept of having thousands of novice pilots.
It's dusty.
Huh?
It's dusty.
Dusty?
No. No.
And this looks like an old rocket here.
Yeah, they haven't quite figured out what the old is yet.
No.
Good old Dusty. The West Virginia Air National Guard plane.
Stars and Stripes. Dusty Crop Hopper. Another one of William's favorite movies. Stars and Stripes Commander Robert Byrd flew pioneering mapping and reconnaissance flights on the first and second Byrd Antarctic expeditions, 1928 to 1930. And after 3 years burial in the snow, oh, I thought I was going to say that they pulled it out of the snow and brought it here. Or is this the one? Oh, a successor. So they built another one that after this. So this spent 3 years in the snow. Buried. Cool. And I remember this. This is that solar panel plane. Didn't he fly this around the world?
Something like that.
Using only solar panel, solar energy? I think so. Be back. So we got a bunch of racing planes and stunt planes. There's a Pepsi Cola biplane up there. I don't know what that is over there. And this looks like a new addition here. It doesn't even have a placard yet. And look at this sucker. American Jet. 69 Darrell Greenemeyer broke the 30-year-old speed record for a piston engine aircraft held by the German Messerschmitt.
You need two on that.
He reached speeds of 483 miles an hour in his heavily modified Grumman Bearcat. He won the national air races 6 times in this plane. And he donated it to the museum.
Look at the little tiny bubble that he had behind.
Yeah.
I wonder how many times it smacked the screen.
Yeah, I wonder. You see with the exhaust burned away the paint. Pretty neato. I think we're about near the end of all this, isn't it? Oops. Oh, well, we didn't check out the German stuff. Yeah, I'm gonna pop over and check the German stuff real quick. Here's something. What's left of something. Olmsted Pusher. Pusher aircraft has a propeller at the rear, so it pushes the plane through the air. Unfinished aircraft, so this was never. This is the unfinished aircraft remained in storage until it was donated to the Smithsonian. Lockheed P-38 J Lightning. Those two engines sitting under the Enola Gay over there, those are the engines from Flatbait. That's in the restoration room. Hawker Hurricane. Oh, so this is that's a British aircraft. Horton, oh, that's
The pieces that you see sitting in
the
there. Looks like
that's the
something
German, yeah. Oh, it was like a flying wing.
Yeah.
All-wing jet-propelled aircraft program ended when the second prototype had a fatal crash following 2 successful test flights. So that isn't the actual jet one that they had right toward the end.
Yep.
That it was pretty much too late by the time it hit service.
Yep. Super weapons.
Yeah. Wonder what would have happened if they would have got it, say, 2 years sooner.
Well, it was one of the things I've heard is there was an accidental bombing in Europe that kept them from developing the atom bomb first. Some kind of a bombing grade had a heavy water plant, and that set them back. I don't know if that's true. Here's a flying plane, or flying wing for you.
Look at the Black Widow.
Yeah.
Northrop P-61.
Onboard radar. Cool.
Wow.
You can find your Eagle Keep. The Japanese bomber there. Northrop.
Oh yeah, there's some Japanese aircraft over here too. Yep. Just kind of go over these really quick to close things out. Nakajima J1N1 Daylight Escort Fighter. There's not much left of that one. Kyushu J7 there. Yeah. Oh, that's one with a propeller in the back. Is this the only survivor? Yeah.
This aircraft was built under quite a bit of duress. The Japanese mainland was being bombed regularly. Many of the factory personnel were young people, high school students, and one of the things that was found scratched into the interior metal of the aircraft was a complete English alphabet.
Nakajima Kika. The only Japanese jet aircraft. What? Is it that back there? Where is that? Did you know the Japanese had a jet aircraft in World War II?
I don't think they ever established that.
Fate of the air. The rocket assist was used to take off. Crashed on a second flight, so the fuselage is unknown. Okay, here's the German section. Oh, here's the German jet. It's a bomber. Went from 44 to 45. This Serato is the sole survivor of its type. And this is an interesting one. Heinkel E-219 was built to encrypt to find and attack enemy aircraft in the dark. Guided to its target by radar and heavily armed with up to 8 cannons. This airplane is the sole survivor of its type. Wolf FW-190. The Butcher Bird entered service in 1941. Flew throughout World War II on all fronts. The only German single-seat fighter powered by a radial engine. Had electrically operated like gear and flaps.
It was quite one of the best planes, fighter planes in the Second World War.
Yeah. Says the 1980 to 83 restoration revealed a succession of color schemes. It now appears as it did while serving in 1944. Interesting. Okay, gonna walk over here and be back. What's left of the Horton Ho Flying Wing? What's left of it? Yeah, there's a picture of it. It says here the museum staff can find no drawings or other information on which to base a complete restoration. So it was decided to preserve this rather than try to restore it. They have nothing to go by. Okay. Be back. Look, everybody, it's Snoopy's plane. Sopwith Camel. British World War I fighter. Funny. Going in for a landing. Okay, so that ends our day at the Air and Space Museum. There's that observation tower we were in earlier. I don't know if I got that in the earlier shot. So, yeah. From my family to y'all, we wish you health and happiness and all that good stuff. And
All that good stuff.
yeah, and subscribe to the channel. Check out all our other videos. And keep your stick on the ice. Can't think of anything else. And I hope you enjoy it, because man, this was an amazing visit. I just enjoyed that. And I guess they're volunteers, right?
They're volunteers.
Yeah. And all the information that they gave us was just.
I have to make 2 videos out of this.
I might split. Could be part 1 and 2 on this one, so it's not so long. That's a good idea. But every time I come here, it's always a different experience. Even though I've come here several times, it's always different. And this was no exception. This is an amazing place.
Every time I come, I've been here probably half a dozen times.
Yeah.
And there's always something new they're
Yeah.
putting up.
Yeah. And the staff is always so knowledgeable. They're just awesome. I loved it. Hope you guys, even though, I mean, it's better if you're here, but hope you enjoy that anyway. So, adios, everybody. Have a good one.
New memories were made during this visit to the Air and Space Museum, and they're memories I won't ever forget. If I have one regret, it's because the other members of the family were unable to attend. I really, really wish they could have joined in on this experience. One nice thing though, this museum will always be here, so we'll have ample opportunities in the future to create new memories here at the Smithsonian Air and Space Museum.